Introduction: The Soul in Two Bodies. Welcome, traveler of the mind. Sit with me in the quiet shelter of this hour. Let the heavy noise of the marketplace fade away, and let the restless waters of your daily anxieties grow completely still. You live in a world that speaks of love constantly. You hear it in the popular songs, you see it on the digital screens, and you read about it in the dramatic stories of romance and passion. Yet, despite all this talking, you look around and you see a profound loneliness. You see people holding onto each other out of fear or using each other for pleasure, while their spirits remain deeply isolated. You have begun to wonder if there is a deeper, cleaner, and more majestic way to understand this grand mystery we call love. Let us travel back across the centuries to the ancient groves of Athens. Let us sit beneath the shade of the olive trees with Aristotle, the philosopher who looked at the universe not with mystical panic, but with a sharp, observant eye and a heart dedicated to human flourishing. He did not view love as a sudden, uncontrollable madness sent by capricious gods to ruin your reason. He viewed love as a profound art, a deliberate choice, and the very foundation of a good life. He famously observed that true love is a single soul dwelling in two separate bodies. In this mini audiobook, we will explore the timeless anatomy of love according to Aristotle. We will move beyond the superficial passions of the modern age and dive into the true, enduring structures of human connection. We will examine why most relationships fail, how true intimacy is constructed, and why loving another person correctly is the highest form of philosophy. Open your mind to the ancient wisdom of the Lyceum. Let us discover the keys to a love that does not drain your spirit, but instead illuminates your entire existence. Chapter 1: The Three Anchors of Connection. To understand love through the eyes of Aristotle, we must first learn how to categorize the ties that bind human beings together. He observed that people do not connect by accident. They connect because they perceive some form of goodness in each other. However, not all goodness is created equal. Aristotle divided all human relationships and types of love into three distinct categories based on what holds them together. He called them the love of utility, the love of pleasure, and the love of virtue. The first anchor is utility. In a relationship of utility, two people love each other not for who they are, but because they are useful to one another. This is the love of the marketplace. You love your business partner because they help you make money. You love your neighbor because they watch your house when you are away. There is no deep malice in this, but there is also no deep intimacy. It is a transactional connection based entirely on mutual benefit. The second anchor is pleasure. In a relationship of pleasure, people connect because they enjoy the immediate feelings they give to each other. This is the love of the young, the love of the party, and the love of superficial romance. You love your friend because they make you laugh. You love your partner because they are beautiful and exciting in the moment. But just like the love of utility, this anchor is fragile. Aristotle warned that both utility and pleasure are temporary. When the usefulness ends, or when the pleasure fades, these relationships naturally dissolve because the foundation beneath them has disappeared. Chapter 2: The Anatomy of Transactional Love. Let us look deeper into the tragedy of transactional love, which dominates so much of your modern world. When you live in a society that measures everything by profit, speed, and efficiency, you naturally begin to treat human hearts like commodities. You enter into friendships and romantic partnerships with a hidden ledger in your mind. You ask yourself, what am I getting out of this person? Are they advancing my social status? Are they curing my boredom? Are they validating my ego? Aristotle noted that those who love for utility are quick to complain. Because their connection is based on a trade, they are constantly calculating whether they are receiving enough in return. If the other person suffers a financial loss or loses their social influence, the love of utility vanishes instantly. The phone stops ringing, the visits cease, and the door is closed. This is not because the relationship broke. It is because the relationship fulfilled its transactional nature and expired. This realization is not meant to make you bitter, but to make you wise. You must learn to recognize when you are participating in a transaction disguised as affection. When you love someone only for what they provide, you are not truly loving them. You are loving yourself through them. You are using them as a tool to achieve your own comfort or success. To move toward a love that endures, you must be willing to step out of the marketplace of utility and look for an anchor that cannot be bought or sold. Chapter 3. The Illusion of Passionate Pleasure. The second form of love, based on pleasure, is what your modern world frequently confuses with true romance. It is the sparks, the intense emotions, and the dramatic highs of sudden attraction. Aristotle observed that this type of connection is common among the young, who live by their immediate impulses and chase whatever feels pleasant in the moment. They fall in love quickly today and fall out of love just as quickly tomorrow, as their desires change with the wind. There is nothing inherently evil about pleasure, but it is a terrible foundation for a lifelong journey. Pleasure is an emotion, and emotions are like weather. They shift, they storm, and they eventually pass. A love built entirely on how exciting another person makes you feel is a love built on sand. When the novelty wears off, when the responsibilities of life increase, or when sickness and old age change the physical form, the pleasure relationship experiences a massive shock. If you believe that love is only present when you feel an emotional high, you will spend your life constantly changing partners, chasing the initial rush of the transaction. You will become a slave to your own biology, forever searching for a perfect feeling that cannot be sustained. Aristotle calls you to look past the fleeting colors of pleasure. He invites you to discover a love that does not depend on the variable weather of your emotions, but on the steady climate of your character. Chapter 4. The Highest Form Philia. Now we arrive at the peak of Aristotle's philosophy, the third form of love, which he called the love of virtue, or true philia. This is the perfect form of connection, and it occurs only between people who are good and similar in their dedication to excellence. In this relationship, you do not love the other person because they are useful to you, nor do you love them because they bring you immediate pleasure. You love them for who they are in their very essence. You love the goodness of their character. When you participate in this highest love, you desire the good of your friend for their own sake, not for yours. It is a completely unselfish affection. Because you see their integrity, their kindness, and their strength of soul, you want them to flourish as a human being. And because your love is rooted in their character rather than their circumstances, this connection is incredibly stable. Character does not vanish overnight. It endures through poverty, through sickness, and through the trials of time. Aristotle observed that such friendships are rare, because truly good and virtue-dedicated people are rare. It takes time, shared experiences, and mutual testing to build this level of intimacy. You cannot create a relationship of virtue over a digital screen in a single week. It requires eating many meals together, enduring hardships together, and witnessing each other's choices over years. But when you find this love, you have found the greatest treasure of human existence, a connection that elevates your soul. Chapter 5. The Mirror of True Virtue. Why does Aristotle claim that a true friend is a mirror for your own soul? To understand this, you must realize that human beings are deeply blind to their own flaws and their own potential. It is incredibly easy to deceive yourself in the quiet chambers of your own mind. You can pretend you are patient when you are simply comfortable, or you can believe you are brave when you have never been tested. A true friend of virtue becomes a living mirror. Because they love you for your character, they see your true self. When you look into their life, you see a reflection of what is possible. Their honesty challenges your self-deception. Their patience exposes your anger. Their courage inspires your hesitation. They do not flatter your ego. They care too much about your soul to let you remain stagnant. This mirror effect is not painful. It is deeply liberating. In a perfect relationship, you are not performing or wearing a mask to stay safe from rejection. You stand completely exposed, knowing that you are loved for the goodness within you, while simultaneously being challenged to grow into a better version of yourself. True love is an active, cooperative partnership in human excellence. It is two minds helping each other navigate the difficult path of virtue. Chapter 6. the choice of active loving. A major error of the modern age is the belief that love is a passive experience. People speak of falling in love as if they tripped over a stone in the street. They treat love as an accidental event that happens to them. And when the feeling goes away, they claim they have fallen out of love, as if they are helpless victims of a magical spell. Aristotle rejects this passivity completely. He declares that love is an activity, a deliberate choice, and a habit of the will. He noted that the true excellence of love lies in the act of loving, rather than in the experience of being loved. Anyone can enjoy being loved. Even the most selfish and cruel person desires affection, attention, and care. Being loved requires nothing from your character. But to love another person correctly requires immense energy, discipline, and maturity. It requires you to step outside of your own ego and invest your will into another person's flourishing. When you view love as an activity, your perspective changes. You stop waiting for someone to come and fix your loneliness. You stop demanding that the world satisfy your emotional needs. Instead, you begin to practice love as a daily discipline. You choose to listen, you choose to understand, you choose to forgive, and you choose to stay steady when the emotions are dry. Love is not a noun, it is a verb. It is the continuous, intentional pouring of your best energy into the life of another. Chapter 7. The Foundations of Healthy Self-Love. Before you can love another person with the purity of virtue, you must first examine how you treat yourself. Aristotle wrote a profound chapter on self-love, and his insights are radically different from the superficial self-care of your modern world. He observed that many people are their own worst enemies. They are filled with internal conflict, their desires fight against their reason, and they run away from their own thoughts into endless distractions. Aristotle divided self-love into two categories, the base form and the noble form. Base self-love is selfishness. It is the behavior of the person who grabs the biggest share of money, honors, and bodily pleasures for themselves. They are driven by their animal desires, and they view life as a competition where they must win at all costs. This person does not truly love themselves. They love their lowest impulses, and they end up destroying their own peace of mind. Noble self-love, however, is the foundation of all virtue. The noble self-lover is the person who demands the highest standards of character from themselves. They refuse to let their mind be corrupted by greed or anger. They cultivate wisdom, courage, and justice within their own soul. They love the rational, divine part of their being. Aristotle says that this person will gladly give up their wealth, their comfort, and even their life for the sake of what is noble, because they value their integrity above their physical survival. Only when you love yourself in this noble way can you become a stable, trustworthy friend to another. Chapter 8. The Danger of Emotional Dependence. When you lack noble self-love, you naturally fall into the trap of emotional dependence. Because your own inner house is empty and full of conflict, you look for another person to come and save you from yourself. You look for a partner to manufacture your happiness, to guarantee your security, and to validate your existence. You turn the other person into an idol, expecting them to cure a loneliness that only you can heal. Aristotle's philosophy warns that this is a recipe for disaster. Emotional dependence is not the highest form of love. It is a mutated form of the utility transaction. You are using the other person as an emotional medicine to numb your inner pain. When they fail to meet your impossible expectations, or when they show their human flaws, your idolatry quickly turns into resentment and anger. You begin to choke them with your demands, suffocating the very connection you wanted to protect. True philia can only exist between two independent, self-governing souls. It requires two people who are already whole, who have already done the difficult work of organizing their own inner lives, and who come together not to complete each other, but to share their wholeness. You do not enter a relationship to find your missing half. You enter a relationship because you are already a complete circle and you want to walk side by side with another complete circle toward a common destination. Chapter 9. The Shared Journey Toward Purpose. What is the ultimate purpose of human life according to Aristotle? He called it eudaimonia, a word that your languages often translate as happiness, but which truly means human flourishing or living a deeply fulfilled, excellent life. Eudaimonia is not a temporary emotion. It is the realization of your highest human potential over an entire lifetime. And Aristotle declared that you cannot achieve this flourishing in isolation. True love is the vehicle that carries you toward this shared purpose. When two friends of virtue walk together, their relationship is anchored in a vision that is grander than themselves. They are not just looking at each other in a closed room of romantic obsession. They are standing side by side, looking forward in the same direction, toward what is true, what is beautiful, and what is just. Think of a partnership where both individuals are committed to building a beautiful family, or serving their community, or discovering truth through deep study. Their mutual affection is strengthened by their shared devotion to this high calling. They become co-pilots in the grand adventure of existence. When one faces failure, the other provides counsel and strength. When one succeeds, the other feels true, unenvious joy. Their love is integrated into the moral structure of the universe, ensuring that their connection expands outward rather than collapsing inward. Chapter 10. The stability of constant commitment. Because the highest form of love is rooted in character rather than circumstances, it possesses a beautiful, unshakable stability. Aristotle noted that relationships based on utility or pleasure change as fast as the market or the seasons. But a relationship based on virtue is rare precisely because it is built to last. It is a commitment that survives the inevitable storms of human life. Consider what happens when a relationship of virtue faces hardship. If one partner falls into poverty or suffers an injury that changes their physical capacity, the love does not diminish. The noble friend does not look at the tragedy and say, "This person is no longer useful or pleasant to me, so I am leaving." Instead, they look at the soul of their friend, which remains intact beneath the broken circumstances. They stand firm, offering their loyalty as a shield against the world. This constant commitment requires absolute honesty and reliability. You cannot have virtue without trust, and you cannot have trust without consistency. A true lover is someone whose word is a rock and whose presence is a safe harbor. They do not run away when the conversation becomes difficult, nor do they hide their heart when they are afraid. They choose to stay, to build, and to endure, because they understand that a magnificent soul connection is worth more than any temporary comfort. Chapter 11. The Sacred Geometry of Friendship. Let us expand our vision to observe the geometric perfection that occurs when a virtuous friendship reaches its full maturity. Aristotle spoke of friendship as an active field of spiritual and intellectual gravity. When two noble souls enter each other's orbits, they create a balanced ecosystem that elevates everyone who steps near it. It is a dynamic force field where goodness is amplified, truth is multiplied, and sorrow is divided into harmless fragments. In this sacred geometry, there are no hidden corners or dark pockets of manipulation. Everything is transparent because both individuals operate under the brilliant light of identical values. When you speak to a friend of virtue, you do not need to construct verbal defenses or calculate how your words will be weaponized against you. The communication is pure, direct, and restorative. It is the language of the soul. This level of harmony creates a powerful shield against the chaos of the outside world. When the empires of the earth shake, when economies crumble, and when the superficial structures of society fail, the geometry of true friendship remains unshakable. It is a sanctuary built out of mutual respect and unbreakable loyalty. Two individuals standing back to back can face any army of misfortune because their shared soul gives them a supernatural resilience that a separate, terrified ego could never possess. Chapter 12. The Expansion of Moral Friendship. When you master the art of noble love within a single relationship, your capacity for connection naturally begins to expand outward. Aristotle did not view friendship as a private escape from the responsibilities of society. He viewed it as the training ground for citizenship and the ultimate glue that holds a community together. He famously claimed that when citizens are friends, they have no need for laws, because their mutual care ensures that justice happens naturally. A society built on transactional utility is a society of strangers who are constantly afraid of being cheated. But a society that understands true philia is a family. The empathy you cultivate by loving your virtue friend enables you to look at a stranger in the street and see a brother or sister. You begin to care about the common good, the protection of the weak, and the cultivation of excellence in your city. Your private love becomes a public blessing. The light that you and your companion generate within your circle spills over the walls, warming the cold spaces of your neighborhood. This is the true moral destiny of love. It starts with the organizing of your own mind, expands into a beautiful partnership with another soul, and ultimately becomes a force that transforms the culture around you. You move from the isolation of the ego into the grand harmony of the human collective. Conclusion: walk in the light of wisdom. My dear traveler, let go once and for all of the shallow, chaotic definitions of love that your modern world tries to force upon your mind. Do not let yourself be reduced to a consumer in the marketplace of utility or an addict chasing the fleeting sparks of emotional pleasure. You were made for something far more majestic. Whether you are currently searching for a true companion or whether you are working to deepen the relationships you already have, remember the timeless keys of Aristotle. Look to the character. Tend to your own inner garden first, so that you have a noble soul to offer the world. Practice love as an active, daily choice of the will, and seek that single soul dwelling in two separate bodies. You are not an isolated accident in a cold universe. You are a conscious creator, capable of building a bridge of absolute virtue between yourself and another human being. Walk boldly into that golden light. Be honest, be consistent, be brave, and let your connections be a mirror of divine excellence. May wisdom guide your steps, and may true love illuminate your path forever. Peace be with you on the grand journey.